Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay,
Waalaikumsalam.
so let's discuss on our task. Okay, so we try to make it as fast as possible, so that we won't consume too much of your time. Okay, so today I will discuss regarding our test one. Okay, so you have 50 marks in total, and of course you need to get 25 plus to pass the test. Okay. However, for my students, I know some of you didn't manage to pass the test. However, I do hope on the second test and our SQL test after your midterm break and after your short special break. Okay, so can manage lah to do it. Okay, so let's go to question number one. So there are three different questions on question number one, which the first one is based on the table and table one staff data. Based on the data in table 1, explain whether the data redundancy exists or not. Okay. So by right, if you take a look over here, what does it mean by data redundancy? When we talk about data redundancy, it is a duplication of data. And data redundancy means duplication of data. What does it mean by duplication? Everything is the same. And everything is the same on the data. So if you take a look over here, staff number, I know that there is some duplication on staff number. And there are some duplication on staff number 101, 101 over here. And however, it is not yet considered as data redundancy. And so we can consider these three. Then we consider the IC number. And if you take a look IC number over here, number 1 and number 4 is the same. So means number 2, row number 2 and row number 3 is out of context already. Then we take a look at the salary. Yes, the salary is the same. And however, the designation over here is different. This is a manager, this is a cashier. So means the data is not exactly the same. When it is not exactly the same, of course, you need to understand that there is no data redundancy. And there is no data redundancy. And because when we talk about data redundancy, everything must be the same. Unless this one is also a manager. And if row number 4 is a manager, yes, everything is exactly the same, then we can say there is a data redundancy in our table. And but now, if you take a look over here, the designation is different, means not the data is not exactly the same. So what we can say is there is no data redundancy as no data or no row is exactly the same. Because they ask you to explain and explain whether the data redundancy happened again. Okay. So by right, if you take a look, and you have to explain. If you say no, you will get 1 mark. If you say that why it is no, then you have another 1 mark. Okay. Clear on this?
Clear, sir.
Okay. So now let's move on to question B. Explain the feature, and it asks you the feature in database management systems that ensures there is no data redundancy in a database. And so by right, there is one feature in our DBMS to make sure that there is no data redundancy. So the feature is what we call as primary key. Okay, the feature is primary key. So you have to understand, and in our database and in our table, there must be a primary key to a table. And so when we talk about primary key cannot be the same, and it has to be, it cannot be null. And so by right, you have to remember primary key must be unique and it cannot be null. So that's primary key. So explain what primary key, because they ask you to explain. And it is the attribute or an attribute to identify the row, and attribute to identify data on the same row. Okay, so you have to understand what primary key is all about. Okay, primary key is an attribute. It is an attribute. And so what the attribute is all about, it is to identify data on the same row. And so by right, if you give Then let's say we take this one as all different primary key, 102, 103, 104. And so when we talk about primary key, we know stuff ID is a primary key. Primary key is an attribute that identifies data on the same row. You give 101, you get salary 4,000. You give 101, you get this IC number. You give 101, you get the designation. And so by that you have to understand, then tak boleh bagi 101 dapat 104 punya salary. It is wrong. And so by that you have to understand primary key is an attribute to identify data on the same row. Then we give your staff ID, we get your name. We give your staff ID, we get your address. Then it is impossible. I give your student ID, I get your friends CGPA. And so it is ridiculous. And so that's why what is a primary key? It is an attribute to identify data on the same row. Okay, boleh this one?
Boleh, sir.
Okay, so let's move on to question C. Illustrate the data independence in three-level unsyspa architecture together with physical database. And okay, so right, you have to understand first what is a data independence in unsyspa architecture. Okay, so we have two different data independence, which is logical data independence and also physical data independence. Okay, so we have logical data independence and physical data independence inside our ancestral architecture. And now they ask you to illustrate the three-level ancestral architecture. So ancestral architecture will satisfy the database features, which we say that different users will get different view of a database. And so just take a look at our U feature. Like I said, just take a look at our U feature. And you can access the feature, I can access the feature. We are both end users of the U feature. However, our view is different. And our view is different. And what you can do with your future is different than what I can do with your future. And so that's why, like I said, even though we are both end users, but we have different views. And so where are we as the end user? End user will be at external level. And end users will be at external level. So let's say this is student view and student, and I can be a lecturer over here. Okay, so we are all external user of the feature, and we have no control towards the administration of the feature, but we can access the system. So whether we are both end users. And so what is external level? External level is part for the end users. Okay, so in between external level, there is a conceptual level. And there is a conceptual level. So this in conceptual level, normally this is where all the database designers will be. Okay, because inside conceptual database or conceptual level, then what you know is what are the data. And you know what are the data. And because what it consists of data dictionary. So what is a data dictionary? Data dictionary is a system catalog that contains the details of the data or description of the data. Okay, then after conceptual, we have internal level. Then we have internal level. So this is where the database admin will reside. Okay, so inside internal level, we know how the data is stored. And we know how the data is stored. Okay, for example, tadi kita tahu dekat sini ada apa? Ada table employee. Ada table employee. Dalam employee ada apa? Ada employee ID, ada employee name, for example. Okay, so inside internal level, we know how the data is stored. What does it mean how the data is stored? Tahu kan what is the SQL and what is the SQL to create table employees, so forth. And so you know how the data is being stored. Okay, so after internal level, which is where the physical database resides. And so this is where the physical database. And so of course the database admin will be closest to the physical database because they control how the data is being stored in our database. Okay, so these are the three-level unsyspa architecture. you have to know this one. This is a very basic of our database. And so in a normal database, I think this is the standard and the standard architecture of our database. We have to understand this one. Even if you cannot, you don't know where to place the data independence part. However, you should know, and you should know that this is the three-level architecture. We have the external level, conceptual level, and also the internal level. Okay, so where the data independence reside? So if you take a look, we have physical and logical. So physical, physical database, physical data independence will be closest to the physical database. So this is the part for physical data independence. Okay, so you have to understand, and physical data independence means the closest to the physical database. Then we have another one, which is logical data independence. Okay, so what does it mean by physical data independence? If you change something in the internal, and if you change something in the internal, it won't affect the conceptual level. That is physical data independence. How about logical data independence? If you change something in conceptual, external level won't be affected. Dan apa maksud dekat sini? Kan apa maksud won't be affected tu? For example, let's say database admin tambah new table. Then dia tambah new table. People in conceptual and people in external won't be affected. And won't be affected. Awak tak tahu pun. Then you don't know. Then you don't know that database admin tengah tambah new table. Database admin tengah tambah new data. You won't know. Kan kita guna sistem macam biasa je. Tak ada apa-apa pun. For example, in the beginning of the semester, kan kita tahu banyak student tengah register course, banyak student baru tengah daftar. But then in the future, we still can access just the same. And there's no changes on the system. Sama je. Then kita punya view still sama. Kan itu maksud dia dekat sini. Then if you change something the internal, conceptual level won't be affected. And same goes. Let's say, kan database designers awak tengah tambah something inside the data dictionary. Because tadi dah tambah new table kan. So of course you need to add something new into the data dictionary. But will it affect the people in external level? Of course not also. Kan same goes. Dia tengah tambah data dictionary ke, dia tengah ubah data dictionary ke, we won't be affected. Dan itu maksud data independence. Then what is the definition of data independence? Kan when the data change, and when the data change, the system is not necessarily change. Okay. So if you take a look over here, data, you have to understand what is data independence first. When the data change, the system does not necessarily change. And so by right, what is the physical? If you change something inside the internal, conceptual level will not be affected. If you change something in the conceptual, external level won't be affected. So that's logical data independence. Okay, so you get 6 marks over here for the external level, 1 mark, conceptual 1 mark, internal 1 mark, physical 1 mark, logical another 1, and physical data independence another 1 mark. So far so good?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you have to know. Then after this, please make sure at least you understand what is ANSYS Spark architecture. And so this is most important because it will satisfy the needs of different users need different view. And different users need different view. So how to satisfy this thing? By using three-level ANSYS Spark architecture, because in each level we have different users. Okay, so that's all for question number 1. And so if contoh if you have problem with your marks, mungkin awak buat saya lupa nak bagi markah ke apa ke, you can let me know lah after this. Okay, so now let's take a look on question number 2. Okay, question number 2 is about ERD. Okay, Jasin High School would like to create a system to store the performance of their students at the end of the year for reporting purposes to the parents. As a database designer, you are required to design the database according to these requirements. Students' data Kita tahu ada apa? Ada students. Students data that are needed to be stored ada ID, identification number, name, address, email, and phone number. So this is actually the attributes and attributes of student entity. Okay, then teachers. We have another one is teachers will record the performance of their students. Then if we take a look, teachers will record the performances of their students. So means many teachers will record performance of many students. Yeah, so if you take a look over here, dah tahu kan student dengan teachers. Okay, many teachers, nampak ada S ni kan, many teachers will record performances of their students. So many to many. So of course, in the middle of teachers and students, there is a bridge. And there's a bridge. So what the bridge is all about? The bridge is about performance. Okay, according to their grade for that particular year of evaluation. So means dalam your ada year lah of the evaluation, the attribute. Okay, then for each performance, the year, grade, comments from the teachers must be recorded. So means the attribute inside performance kena ada year, grade, and also comments. Okay, then teachers are divided into teaching teachers and administrative teachers. So teachers ada dua. Kan dia kata teaching teachers dengan admin teachers. And however, if we take a look based on the next info, the administrative teachers will have allowance according to their position. So I mean admin ada unique attribute which is allowance and also performance. But for teaching teachers, since dia tak ada new attribute, means dia adalah the normal teachers. Kan? So tak payah letak sebagai anak. So means kalau dia teachers biasa, dia ada dekat teachers saja. Kalau dia ada performance. Kalau dia ada position and allowance, then dia akan jadi administrative teacher. So means ada satu je anak dia. These teachers ada administrative teacher. Okay. Then the details of subjects, the detail of subject for each performance is also needed to be stored separately. So means ada satu table which is we call as subject. Okay, so this one if you take a look over here, siapa je yang ada student, teacher, performance, dekat performance kena ada subject. And dekat teachers kena ada administrative teachers. So if you take a look over here, the tables are quite simple. And the tables are quite simple over here for this question. So that's why I also don't understand why you most questions can answer this ERD. Because it is very simple. Okay. So now the first thing first, kita ada siapa? Kita ada student. Okay. So table student. Awak nak lukis ERD, you have to understand what is the the rectangular shape. Okay, what is the shape of the entity? And supposedly the format, the PK should be here. So what is the PK? Mungkin ada student ID. Other than that, kena ada apa? Kena ada identification number, student IC. Then name, student name, student address. Okay, then email and phone number, student email, student phone. So because they are the only part of the entity yang dia bagi attributes, because the rest nampak, if you take a look over here, they said design the entity relationship diagram with cardinality and modality before the development stage starts. You can add any appropriate data to the ERD to complete the basic requirement. Kan the appropriate, contohnya macam dekat teachers dia tak bagi sangat kan dia punya attribute, so you can add the data that you think appropriate. Okay, so now students tadi ada dengan performance. And student has performances. Okay, so what is inside performance? And dia pun dah beritahu dekat sini tadi. Performance kena apa? The year. Dan mungkin the key is the performance ID. Okay, then mungkin ada performance year. Kan apa ni, performance grade, and also performance comment. Ini apa dia nak dulu. Kan? So means kita tahu one student will have many performances. And one student has many performances. So this is just a trinarity. How about the modality? Every performance means tidak ada minimum one juga. Kan takkanlah awak ada grade tapi tak ada siapa student tu, kan tak logik. So by right, every student also must have at least one performance. Kalau awak tak ada performance, then takkan awak ambil exam langsung. Kan kalau macam mana pun, kalau tak datang exam pun, dia still mungkin akan tulis kat situ tidak hadir ke apa on the comments. Sebab each student must have minimum one performance, maximum many performance. And for the performance, it must have exactly one student. Okay, so then performance also is evaluated by, and performance is evaluated by, you have to remember each relationship must have a need. Oh, saya lupa nak cakap satu lagi. One relationship, one foreign key. So where to put the foreign key? At many side. So siapa many side dekat sini? Performance. Siapa many side dekat sini? Performance. So what is a foreign key? Foreign key is a primary key of another table. Nak letak dekat table performance, apa another table tu? Student. Apa PK dia? Student ID. So now the first FK that we have over here is student ID. So that's how we put the foreign key. Okay. So now the next one, kita ada table features and entity features. Okay. So what's the PK? Mungkin ada teacher ID, dan mungkin ada teacher name, letaklah 2, 3. Kan mungkin ada apa ni, teacher salary, mungkin ada teacher expertise. Okay. So you have table features over here. So you have to understand also, one teacher will evaluate many performances. And one teachers will evaluate many performances. What is the minimum number of performance? Of course, one juga. Yang takkan teachers tu tak ada mengajar langsung kan? So by right, one teachers will evaluate at least minimum one, maximum many performance. Okay, minimum one and maximum many performances. Then for each performance, they must be evaluated by exactly one teacher. And exactly one teacher. Okay, so by right, the cardinality and duality is 1, 1 and 1 many over here. Okay, so like I said, when we have a relationship, there must be a foreign key. So where to put the foreign key? At many side. Okay, so siapa another table? Foreign key is a primary key of another table. What is another table? The table is teachers. So what is the primary key of teachers? Teachers ID. So now the second foreign key that we have inside performance is teacher ID. Okay, so far so good. Boleh faham saya tengah buat apa?
Okay, sir.
Oops. Okay, so now let's continue. For each performance, then for each performance, based on the question, let's take a look. For each performance, the details of subject is also needed. And for each performance, there is a detail of subject. Okay, subject. Okay, so what are the attributes inside subject? Okay, the PK you have subject ID, subject name. Ini ada satu lagi subject book. Dan mungkin ada subject year introduced. And so by right, these are all the attributes inside table subject. One subject and one subject evaluated in lah. And one subject is evaluated in many performance, because satu subject akan diambil oleh ramai student kan. So by right, one subject will be evaluated in many performances. The minimum also should be one. Kenapa one? Sebab takkanlah setiap performance tu tak ada subject kan. Sebab minimum also will be one over here. Okay, so like I said, when you have one relationship, there should be one foreign key. Then where to put foreign key admin inside. What is another table? Subject. What is the primary key of another table? Subject ID. So now the FK over here is subject ID. Okay, so now we are done with the major table and the main table, main entities. Now another one that we can have is, if you take a look over here, teachers are divided into administrative teacher and also teaching teachers. But like I said, teaching teachers has no unique attribute. Because when we talk about inheritance, kan saya tengok ramai memang buat macam ni. Kan ramai buat ada dua anak, which is ada admin teachers, ada teaching teachers. Kan dalam admin teachers awak tahu ada unique attribute which is allowance and also position. Tapi yang teachers tak ada. There's no there is no unique attribute at the teaching teachers. If there's no unique attribute, it is better. It is better kita tahu dia adalah just a normal teacher. So tak payah letak. And because there's no unique attribute dekat teaching teachers. Unique attribute ada dekat admin teachers sahaja. Now kita tahu means dia ada satu anak dia which is admin teachers. Okay, so what is the primary key and foreign key? So to show that it is an it is a inheritance, the primary key and foreign key should be the teacher ID. Okay, so it should be a teacher ID. So that's to show that it is an inheritance. Okay, teacher ID is a primary key and foreign key for table admin. Then what is another attribute? Mungkin ada allowance. Kemungkinan memang kena letak allowance and also position. Okay, so remember for each, kalau ada satu anak je, the constraint is optional. And kenapa optional? So means you can be a normal teaching teachers, or you can be the admin. And so you can be either one, it's either teachers or it can be admin. So means the child can become an option. So means it is an optional. Okay, so Barat, this is the full ERD for question 2. So far so good. Are you clear on this?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
ada berapa soalan for question 2 for now?
Nak tanya, sir, kalau apa teacher teaching tu kalau nak letak juga boleh ke? Walaupun the same
Kalau nak
attribute.
letak, dia tak ada masalah pun. However, it will, because you have to remember, kan table consume space. Kan table in our physical database, if you create table means there is a space being used inside your database. Kan kenapa nak membazir space untuk benda yang tak perlu? Faham?
Faham, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So you have to remember, because table is a database object. Kan certain database object consume physical memory. Kan awak create table tu awak dah consume physical memory. So kenapa nak consume space untuk yang tak perlu? Because you have to remember space is expensive. Space is expensive. It's not cheap. Okay. Even though it is not that expensive for nowadays, but it is still require cost. Okay, so you don't need to have another table. Macam saya kata, contoh nak ada subjek ni. Okay, subjek ni awak saja nak letak apa? Nak letak dia punya buku apa kan, contoh. Boleh je nak letak. But is it necessary according to the requirements? No. Kenapa kita nak tambah space untuk benda tak perlu? Okay, itu maksud saya. Okay, so now let's move on to question B. Give an example of report that can be generated by the administrative teachers. Kan, okay. So if you take a look over here, admin teachers ni dia mungkin nak generate report. So what kind of report, based on this one, what kind of report that they can do? For example, the easiest one. And the easiest one, maybe we can say that number of students and number of students being graded in 2023. Kita nak tahu number of students being graded in 2023. Ambil dah sini. Select count student ID, count student ID where year is equals to like 2023. Dapat tahu number of students being graded in 2023. Or mungkin awak nak buat report, and maybe you want to make a report regarding subject. Kan nak tengok how many students and number of students are getting A in physics, for example. Physics subject, boleh juga. And any kind of report that can be generated out of the system can be considered. And this is macam like free marks sebenarnya. Kan mungkin awak nak cakap list of students from Kuala Lumpur, boleh juga dapat. And list of teacher with salary greater than 10,000, boleh juga buat report. And list of subject that has A in its name, boleh juga. So like I said, any kind of report can be considered as a mark over here lah. Rugilah aku tak dapat sini because based on the system, kalau let's say that this one dah jadi system, what kind of report yang awak nak tengok. So that's what the question wants lah. Okay.
So
Clear,
dia
okay?
nak kena bagi 2 example ni sir.
Satu pun cukup.
Tapi
Nampak?
saya bagi dapat 1 mark ya.
Sebab tak lengkap lah tu. What's your answer?
Administrative teacher can give performance report for teacher.
Performance report of what?
Oh, okay.
Faham
Faham.
Okay. So kita performance report, tapi performance report of what? So it is not complete.
Oh, it's my specific lah.
Yeah, because when you talk about, okay, awak faham tak report ni, it has to be something specific. Macam kalau awak tekan tab apa yang, contoh kalau result awak tu, kan dia bagi awak tengok result, tiba dapat tengok subjek apa awak ambil je, tak dapat result dia kat situ, tak complete. Mestilah awak rasa kenapa tak ada result kat sini kan? Itulah juga. Kan performance apa? Kalau dia bagi awak, contoh, awak punya grade dia untuk setiap subjek, tapi tak tahu subjek apa. Macam dia bagi A, B, B+, C+. Tapi apa yang A, apa yang B, apa yang B+, tak lengkap. So of course user will not be satisfied with that, isn't it? Faham
Okay sir.
Okay. So do you have any question regarding question 2? Ada lagi? Tak ada dah? If tak ada, let's move on to question 3. Question paling senang dalam kita punya test. Okay. So now let's take a look on question 3, which is SQL question. Okay. So for this question, can normally in your final or in your SQL test, can remember after your special break, kita ada test hari Selasa malam. Then kita ada lab test. So your lab test is about SQL test. So when we are doing SQL, you also need to do relational algebra. And why in test 1 we don't have the relational algebra part? Because of it is not yet learned at that time. Then you haven't learned relational algebra at that particular time during our first test. Okay. So now I will do SQL together with RA for each question. And so that you can at least refresh a bit on your knowledge of relational algebra. Okay. So now, Maju Restaurant is using a system to store the orders from their customers to ease the data retrieval process from the top management. The database schema is as follows. Then we have order, products, order prod, and also staff. Okay. So when you get SQL question, first thing first, then please draft the ERD. Please draft the ERD so that you will know which table that you can join directly or which table that you cannot join directly. Okay, so how to draft the ERD? First, find the bridge table. So if we take a look over here, the bridge table over here is order prod. Kenapa order prod? Dalam order prod ada order ID, dalam order prod ada product ID. Product ID is coming from product, order ID is coming from order. Okay? So you know order prod, and order prod over here is the bridge table. It has relationship with orders, and it also has relationship with products. Okay, so what's the common attribute between orders and product? Orders product. Dekat sini kita tahu ada order ID. So what is the common attribute between order product? Nampak order product ID refers to product ID inside product. So the common attribute is product ID. Okay. Then tiba-tiba ada staff dekat sini. Staff ni related dengan which table? Staff related dengan which table? Oh, this is soalan salah. Skema salah, saya tak sedar.
Bonus
Supposedly,
mark, sir. Bonus mark.
the bonus mark. Kan? Supposedly staff ni kena related dengan any table. Okay, saya tak sedar ada table staff tak related dengan any table. Supposedly it has to be at order product also. Okay. Sorry, saya tak sedar. Tak ada orang beritahu saya pun hari tu. Pasal semua orang pun tak faham. Okay. So supposedly awak kena ada staff ID dekat sini. Kan yang handle the order. Oh bukan dekat order product, sorry. It should be at orders. Dekat orders ni patut ada satu lagi staff ID. Okay, sorry saya tak sedar this part. Sekejap ada soalan yang kaitan tak? Okay, tak ada. Okay, tak ada masalah. Nasib baik soalan tak ada berkaitan dengan staff dekat bahagian orders. And supposedly ada staff ID dekat table orders So the common attribute between orders and staff is staff ID. Sorry saya tak sedar benda ni. Lepas pandang. Okay. So now let's take a look on the question. Okay, kita anggaplah question ni betul, the draft betul. Supposedly memang awak kena tahu yang all tables must be connected. Dan itu benda paling penting. Kalau awak draft the ERG tables tak connected, please ask me especially during your test ke atau during your final ke nanti ke. Kan kalau ada tables yang tak connected, please let me know. And so that I can make it right lah. Kan? Saya pun tak tahu tentang benda ni. Yang dekat orders supposedly kena ada staff ID. Okay. So now, based on the relational schema, answer the following questions by using structured query language. Normally, sometimes the question akan minta you nak guna SQL saja. Sometimes the question nak juga and relational algebra. Okay, so sometimes we have to do only SQL. Sometimes you need to do SQL and RA. Okay, so please be careful on the question. Kan, baca betul-betul. Okay, so now in the default date format is DB, MON, YY. Okay, so now for the first question, find all the staff details that has underscore in their email. Okay, find the staff detail that has underscore in their email. And so because kita tahu ada staff email, saya macam yang lain. Okay. So now dia nak find all the staff details. Kalau staff details, kita boleh buat select all je. Dia ada details. Then we can select all. Can select all daripada table mana? Table staff. From staff. Okay. Okay, so then we have a condition. What is the condition? Yeah, email. So what is the attribute that regarding staff email and staff email? And staff email has underscore because kita tahu dekat email awak mungkin awak buat nama ni black. Nah, so kadang-kadang email awak ada underscore ni kan. So siapa yang ada underscore dekat email dia kena keluar. So we know underscore is a part of email. Kan, part of email. Tak boleh email awak underscore je, tak logik. Kan, we know that underscore is a part of email. So kalau awak macam ni equals to underscore, this is wrong. Kenapa salah? Sebab tak mungkinlah email awak ada underscore sahaja. Then it is impossible for your email to have underscore saja. So when we know that it is part of email, bila kita cari part of our characters and part of the characters, we need to use like operator. Then we need to use like operator. So means kalau dekat sini staff email like. Okay, so like operator should be used with wildcard characters. So what are the wildcard characters? Kita ada dua wildcard characters. The first one is underscore. The second one is percentage. Underscore means one character, and percentage means zero or many characters. Okay, zero or many characters. So saya faham normally kalau contoh lah dia kata nak ada A. So senanglah everything like anything, depan dia boleh apa-apa dan dia ada A. Belakang A pun boleh ada apa-apa. Macam ni. Dan ni kalau you nak the email that contains A. But now the email that contain underscore. So awak buat macam ni. Tapi dia jadi salah. Kenapa dia salah? Ini maksud apa? Many characters, one character, many characters. Many characters. So means apa dia? As long as ada characters, nanti dia akan keluar. Even email awak, let's say nama email awak Hamis je. Ini pun akan keluar. Kenapa? As long as ada characters, dia akan keluar. And so which is wrong. Apa kita nak? Kita nak underscore itself. So bila kita nak ada underscore itself, kita kena escape di underscore. Dan kita type escape underscore many. So what does it mean? Depan underscore ni, maksudnya kita nak escape ni, jangan anggap Oracle would not think that this is one character. Oracle would think that this is an underscore. Okay, so depan underscore boleh many characters, after underscore it can be many characters. So as long as it contains underscore, then it will be prompted in your table result. Okay, so however, let's say kita ada dua list ni, yang mana akan keluar? Nombor 2 je akan keluar. Number 1 tak akan keluar, kenapa? Dia tak ada underscore dekat email je. Okay, however, you have to let the Oracle know that you want to escape the apa ni backslash. Okay, you need to escape the escape identifier. So this is the answer for question A. This is very simple sebenarnya. Cuma sebab saya minta underscore jadi gabra. Terlupa the underscore means one character. And terlupa yang underscore tu means one character. So kita kena escape the one character tu so that Oracle will think that it is an underscore. Okay. So how to do RA for this one? And how to do RA for this one? Since kita select all, awak jangan buat project all. This is wrong. Select project all. Okay. So means kalau dah select all, means kita terus start dengan where clause. Where is the part of selection? So what do you select? Staff email, type anything underscore. Okay, then type elak balik escape the dash. And from which table? From table. So this is the RA for question. Okay, so far so good.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so now let's move on to question B. Find the staff. So ini pasal staff. Find the staff that has salary and in the range of 2,000 to 3,000. Apa dia nak range? A range from 2,000 to 3,000 and their name ends with G. So kita tahu dia nak guna apa? Salary, nak guna name. Okay, so means salary dengan name tu apa? Salary dengan name tu actually staff name, staff salary. So table mana? Table staff. So kita guna satu table je tadi, table staff sahaja. Okay, so now kat sini mungkin awak boleh select what you want to select. Kita select lah staff name and also staff salary. Then coming from which table? Staff name and staff salary ada kat satu table yang kita guna, which is table staff. And where? Kan ada condition. Salary kena range of 2,000 to 3,000. When we talk about range, kita boleh guna between and. Okay, when we talk about range, kita boleh guna operator between and. Tak nak guna between and, kita boleh buat greater than or equal to. Kalau rasa tak tahu, mungkin kita boleh buat macam ni. Where staff salary greater than or equals to 2,000 and staff salary less than or equals to 3,000. Kena buat parenthesis ni, kenapa? This is regarding the first condition. Kan salary kena 2,000 ke 3,000. Dan tapi this one macam kenapa? Nak tulis panjang-panjang. When we have an option of using operator between and and where staff salary between 2,000 and 3,000. So this is our first condition. You have to remember, kenapa saya buat tadi greater than or equals, because lower limit, this is lower limit and this is upper limit. Lower limit and upper limit is inclusive. Then when we talk about range, it is inclusive. So ni dia termasuklah, kena cari 2,000 tu juga. So kena greater than or equal kalau nak guna cara yang tradisional lah. Tak nak guna greater than n. Okay. So then another condition, kena tambah n. Dia nak apa? Name ends with G. So apa name dekat sini? Adalah staff name. Where staff name? Nama Abu, Ali, Siti for example. Dia nak yang belakang sekali ni mesti kena G. So means depan G can be any characters. So means ini kita kena guna also, this is G is a part of name, kena guna like. Like anything as long as it ends with G. Okay, clear on this one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so how to do RA for this one? And how to do RA for this one? So if we take a look over here, and if we take a look over here, we have a specific, apa tak, ada specific column kita nak pilih. When you have a specific column, kita ada projection. Projection of what? Projection of staff name and also staff salary. And so when you have a specific column to be projected, you need to project staff name and also staff salary. And second one is we talk about condition. So what is the condition? Staff salary between 1,000 and 3,000. Saya ke bawahkan sebab tak muat and another one is staff name like anything G. So all of this coming from which table? It's coming from table staff. Okay, clear on this on the RA? So far so
Yes,
good.
sir.
Ada masalah?
Okay, sir.
Okay. So now soalan 1 dengan A dengan B ni memang saya macam dia bagi soalan-soalan markah free je ni. Sebab very simple ni question. Very simple ni question. Jarang dia bagi soalan macam ni dekat test sebab sikit sangat markah nak letak kan. So macam so senang lah, senang. Soalan senang. Saya tak patut salah, patut boleh dapat 4 markah percuma je ni. Sebab benda ni benda basic. So this is a very basic SQL. Kali yang bombastic dekat SQL. Tak payah join, tak payah buat apa-apa. Tak payah buat group function, tak payah buat apa-apa. Just select a normal column and with condition. And this is the basic of SQL. Select from where. Just select from where. Okay? That's the basic of our SQL. Okay. So now let's move on to question C. Show the quantity of orders. Quantity of orders. Okay. For mie goreng basah that has been made to the restaurant in January 2023. Okay. So if we take a look over here, then quantity of orders ni maksudnya apa? Table mana? Attribute mana? Quantity of orders ni dekat mana? Atau lain-lain ini. Yang mana dia nak dekat quantity over here. Okay, dia nak attribute quantity. So what is mie goreng basah? Mie goreng basah tu apa? Mie goreng basah tu apa guys?
Product
Product name.
Product name, good. Mie goreng basah is product name. Okay, then that has been made to the restaurant in January 2023 ni apa? January 2023. January 2023 tu apa?
Order date.
Order date. So nampak tak? And the attribute yang dia nak semua coming from different table. Satu dekat orders, satu dekat product, satu dekat order product. So means how many tables that you need to join?
3.
3 different tables. orders, orders product and also product. Kan dah ada order tu, dah tahu dah kan. That's why saya suruh draft. Di ERD sudah orang nampak table mana kena join. So kita boleh start dengan product, boleh start dengan orders. You can choose where to start. Kan kalau outside dengan product join order product join dengan orders. On what? Product ID, on order ID. Okay. So now since dia nak mi goreng basah, so kita select mi goreng basah tu dulu. What is mi goreng basah? Product name. Dah kan, this is product name and this is order date. Okay, so you can select product name. Kalau awak select quantity saja, dia akan jadi wrong. Kenapa? Dia nak quantity of orders. So means berapa banyak dah orang order. Contoh, untuk order pertama, orang ni order mi goreng basah, dia order quantity 5. Orang kedua, dia order mi goreng basah, quantity 7. Orang ketiga, dia order mi goreng basah, quantity 4. So means total berapa banyak order yang dah ada? 5 campur 7 campur 4 jadi berapa? 16 kan? Okay, so total dah 16. Total dah 16 dekat sini. So ni kita buat apa ni? Tambah is what? Kita buat sum. Ni dekat sini kita sum of quantity. Kita tengok sum of quantity of mi goreng basah. And so from which table? Saya nak start dengan product. Table product saya letak sebagai P. Join dengan table apa? Product tadi, macam saya kata, product kena join siapa? Product kena join order product. And so order product. Ini letak SOP. And on what? What is the common attribute between product and order product? Tadi kita dah letak juga. The common attribute is product ID. So it means P.product ID equals to OP.product ID. Okay, then order product kena join dengan siapa? Order product kena join dengan table orders. Then orders product kena join dengan table orders. Oh, on what? And so on what? Tengok dekat sini, on order ID. So what does it mean over here? OP.order ID equals to O.order ID. Okay, so can we stop until here? Tak boleh lagi. Kenapa? Sebab dia nak apa? Dia nak mi goreng basah. So means ada condition where product name equals to, kenapa boleh equals? Sebab dia dah bagi nama penuh. Kan dia dah bagi nama penuh. So type dia lah balik. Kan mi goreng basah. Okay. And ada satu lagi condition, apa dia? January 2023. Okay. So now, what is the default date format of our database? Database kita ini DB, MON, YY, YY. January 2023 itu dekat mana? January itu month. So ni dekat sini. Jan 2023. Depan January ni, hari dia boleh apa tarikan 1 sampai 31. So awak boleh buat. So kita boleh guna 10% over here. So means depan January tu it can be any date. Kan? So what you can do is order date like anything as long as it is in January 2023. Kan kenapa boleh type January penuh-penuh? Sebab dia dah bagi default date format is DBMON. Kan MON means January, Jan lah. Kan kalau February, Feb, FEB. Kalau March, MAR, March. Okay, so that's a 3-letter abbreviation of date. Okay, so can we stop up until here? Can we stop up until here? Boleh ke? Cuba fikir, boleh stop ke? Dah settle ke? Ke ada lagi? Ke ada clause lagi yang perlu?
Dah.
Tak boleh stop lagi. Kenapa? Over here. You select group function. Sum is group function. Product name is non-group function, bukan group function. Nampak tak? Dekat quantity ni ada sum. Sum is a group function. Dekat product name, dia bukan group function. When you select group function with non-group function, kita kena tambah satu ni clause, which we call as group by clause.
Group by.
Okay, so group by, siapa yang bukan group function? The non-group function is product name. So group by product, then baru boleh stop. Itu that is something that you have to remember. If you select group function with non-group function, you need to have group by clause. And so group by clause dekat mana? Group by clause apa ni dekat pada non-group function. Dan siapa non-group function dekat select statement kita tu, dekat select clause tu, product name. So group by product name. Kalau lah tepi ni ada lagi mungkin awak pilih product ID. So means sini pun kena tambah product ID. Because they also non-group function. Kena remember that one. And the non-group function must be inside the apa ni group by clause. Okay. So now let's do the RA for this one. How to do RA for this one? So nak buat RA ke atas ni saya padam benda lain. When you want to do RA, you have to take a look over here. Okay, ada group function je, straight away tahu kita kena ada this capital I. That capital I. Capital I ni untuk siapa? On the right hand side is the group function. So what is the group function kita ada? Sum of the quantity. On the left hand side is our group by clause. What is the group by clause? Product name. Okay. Do we have a condition? Yes. What is the condition? We select dekat sini. And product name equals to digoreng basah. And digoreng basah. And nama kat sini lah. And ada satu lagi order date. The date. Right? Anything as long as it is in January 2023. Okay, ada lagi condition tak ada. So all of this coming from which table? Table product join with table order product. Okay, join with table product. And on what? Products and other products on product ID. So means product ID equals to product ID. Order product joins dengan product on what? Order ID equals to order ID. Okay, clear on that? Boleh faham kita nak buat
Ada,
apa
sir.
ni? Faham
Faham saya.
Okay. So let's move on to question D. Nak habis lah. Question D. Show the total number of orders. Apa dia nak? Total number of orders. Kan? So what makes order unique? Order ID. Dia nak total number. Total number means kita kena buat count. Count of order ID that has been made to restaurant in 2022 and 2023 as in the display. So nak tengok apa ni order ID untuk 2022 apa, order ID 2023 berapa. Kan? So nak tengok berapa banyak kali orang order, berapa banyak order orang dah buat. Okay, so Barat nak senang, kalau nak senang kita boleh buat one by one. Kita boleh buat one by one cara brute force. Okay, kalau tengok sini kalau saya buat SQL saya macam ni. Select 1, 2 from dual. Kan? So select 1 letak sebagai 2022. Saya rename saya select 2 from 2023 from dual. Apa saya akan dapat as the result? Jadi dekat result akan buat 2022 rename column 1. 2023 untuk kita rename column as 2. Ini kita akan dapat result dia. So now, 1 ni kita ganti dengan apa? 1 kita ganti dengan order of 2022. Okay. So macam mana dapatkan order of 2022? Then what do you select? You select count of order ID. Okay. Order ID ni dekat mana? Count of ID dekat table mana? Nak tengok berapa banyak kali orang order. So dekat table mana kita tengok?
Order, sir.
Order sahaja. Okay. So select count order ID from table orders where kan 2022 tu apa? Year kan? Kan remember DD, MON, YY, YY. So kita nak 2022. Depan itu can be any month, any date. So means order date, the date, right? Anything as long as it ends with 2022. Bisa kita dapat satu dah. Dan ini untuk dapatkan 2022 tu. So saya letak kurungan, saya rename this one as 2022. Nampak? So kita tambah apa dekat depan dia? Select. Okay, lepas sendiri tu ada apa? Ada comma. Kan? So apa nombor 2 ni pula? Kita buat benda yang sama. Kita buka kurungan, select count order ID from orders and where order date, right? Anything 2023. Saya tutup kurungan, saya rename dia sebagai 2023. And all of this coming from which table? Kita follow this one here. From dual. Ini boleh dapat result lah. But this is a very brute force punya method lah. This is brute force punya method. Kita tunggu jawab method yang berlainan lah. Dan kita guna cara pertama, yang cara di basic ni. Kena faham this part dulu. Select one, dia dapat apa? Result dia dapat. Because kita rename dia sebagai 2022, kita dapat 2022, dapat 2023. Kita select apa? Kita select satu. Dekat second, kita select 2. So dapat macam ni. So now kita ganti satu tu apa? Count. Count ni, kan, let's say count ni dapat 1077. Bila awak run the second SQL separately, count the ID order 2023 dapat 998. So means apa dia buat? 2022 1077, 2023 dapat 998. Based on this SQL. Sampai sini faham? Apa saya tengah buat? Boleh faham tak saya tengah buat apa ni?
Faham, sir.
Okay.
Faham.
So awak just basekan on this one je. Make sure awak base on the first one ni. And based on the first one. So awak kata satu tu apa? Ni yang saya tengah buat ni. Satu. This nombor 2. Saya rename satu sebagai 2022. Saya rename nombor 2 sebagai 2023. And from 2. Okay, so this is apa awak akan dapat. But this is a very brute force method lah. Okay, so now let me show you another method. Okay, so now kita boleh buat cara macam ni juga. Select and I select, then I can open the case. So sekarang saya letak case dekat sini. And case. Case, saya buat two char of order date. Char of order date, saya nak ambil YY sahaja. Okay, so when it is 2022, then I put as 1. Else, I put as 0. Okay, so now I rename this one as 2022. Comma, buat sama lagi. Case, to char of order date, YY. Okay, so when 2023, then 1, else 0. Okay, this one, sekejap saya kecil dia tulisan sikit, tak muat tu. Saya buat tepi lagi sikit so that. Okay. Now we open the case, kan? So what the case is all about? The case is about ucha of our order date. Okay, ambil YY sahaja. Okay, so when it is 2022 and 1 else 0, then kita kena end the case. Okay, then saya rename sebagai 2022, comma. Saya buka another case, ucha order date YY. Okay, so when 2023, then 1 else 0, then I end the case. I rename this one as 2023. All of this coming from which table? Order date ada dekat mana? Order date ada dekat table orders. Kita boleh stop sampai sini dulu. Kan, tapi tak settle lagi tak settle lagi. Kenapa tak settle? Okay, so saya bagi contoh data. Let's say awak ada this kind of order. Sifat baru lah, senang. Okay, so awak ada order. So this is order ID dengan order date. Kita buat dua je lah. Anggap ada dua je. Okay, so order 1, 2, 4. Okay, so order date. Okay. So now, remember what is the first thing yang kita buat tadi? The first one tadi, kita buat tucha of order date YY. So remember, so tucha order date YY dapat apa? 2022. So YY 2023. This one kita dapat 2022. 2023, 2022, 2021. Ni lepas kita buat tucha. So kalau 2022, the first one dulu Kalau 2022, then 1, else 0. Okay, 2022, 1, else 0, 1, 0, 1, 0. So now, apa kita kena buat? Nak tahu berapa banyak 2022, tambahlah semua. 1 tambah 0, tambah 1, tambah 0, tambah 1, tambah 0. So 1, 2, 3. Karena kita tahu pertama tadi 2022 ada 3. So kita rename as 2022. Okay, so apa operation saya buat tadi? Ni operation apa ni? Kita buat operation sum. And so means kita tambah dekat sini sum and of this everything. So dapatlah untuk 2022. Then same goes untuk 2023. Kita buat tucha order date. And tucha order date YY. But this time around, kalau 2023 jadi 1 else 0. Else 0. Else 1. Else 0. Else 0. So berapa? 1 tambah 1 jadi 2. So 20 dapat 2. Okay, so sama juga. What do we need to add over here? Sum of the case. Kita ini sebagai 33. So ini pun jadi the answer. So you have two different methods and two different methods. So you can choose and you can choose anything that you want to use lah. Okay. So faham tak saya tengah buat apa ni?
Faham sir.
Faham So which one do you think easier? Method 1 ke method 2?
Method one.
One is easier.
Oh, method 1 lagi senang. Okay. So now let's try to do RA for method 1. Nah, saya nak buat RA untuk method number 1. Buat kat sebelah sini. So nak senang, ambil dulu yang the first one tu. Select count order ID tu kan. So ambil count order ID. And so what do you select? You select order date, like anything 2022. So now let's say awak namakan dia sebagai A. Okay, the second one kita buat sebagai B. What do you do? Count of order ID, select order date, like anything 2023. Then anything like 2023. Yeah, so the first one. Then apa kita buat dekat the main one? Dan apa dekat main one ni kita buat? We do select A and B. Okay, sekejap. Tapi kita ada rename kan dia kan? Kita rename dia sebagai 2022. So bila ada rename kita ada row. First one 2022, the second one is 2023. And what do you select? Kita select A dengan B. Nampak? Apa A kita? A kita ni, benda ni, this one. A kita rename sebagai 2022, B kita rename sebagai 2023. Okay, from which table? From table 2. So je lah. And the project A dengan B from table 2. Itu cara yang senang lah. Buat dia. Okay, kalau yang second method ni pun, kita mungkin boleh buat, A. Apa A kita? Awak boleh buat sum of case. Salin je balik. Uca, order date, YY. Okay, so when 2022, then 1 L0 N. Okay. So B kita buat apa? Case uca, salin je balik. Because case ni adalah just a normal function. So salin je balik. Order date, YY, when 2023, then 1 L0 N. Okay. So kita dah dapat dalam tu. So sama juga kita buat row. Kenapa row? 2022, 2023. And what do you select? And oh, this one jangan lupa because the sum dia kena ada benda dalam. Okay. Kena ada apa? Capital I. Okay. So what do you select? We select A. We select B. But this one coming from table orders. Okay. Itu sahaja. Okay, sama je cara nak buat dia. That's why saya suka asingkan A dengan B tu sebab apa awak punya final in nanti nampak simple. Apa A, this one. Apa B, this one. Okay, boleh this part?
Boleh je.
Okay. Macam yes, I understand this one. Ini sebenarnya sama je macam soalan test kita, soalan lab exercise. Kan dekat lab 5 tu saya ada minta berapa banyak employee dah hired. Okay, sama lah cara nak buat dia. Ni cara nak buat dia. Okay, so soalan ni hampir sama je macam your lab exercise tu. Tapi tak ada yang dapat jawab soalan lab exercise tu. Supposedly they can answer this one also lah. Okay, but some of you manage to answer lah. Tapi tak ramai lah. Saya rasa 2-3 orang ikut yang dapat jawab this question. Okay. So now, let's move on to question D. Question E. Okay. So this one pun sebenarnya dia quite simple je. This question. Awak just kena join je. Kena tahu apa yang dia nak. Kena fahamkan apa dia nak. Okay. So, first thing first, display the drinks under beverage product category. So if you take a look, dekat table product, Kan, because dia kata beverage. Beverage tu kan product kan. Kan ada product kategori ni. So means apa dia nak kat sini? Dia nak product kategori equals to beverage. So dah tahu dah nak guna product category. Then as product category equals to beverage. And so dekat sini dah beri tanda dah nak column mana? Product category. Okay. Then that has the quantity and that the quantity has been ordered for more than 200 times. Quantity. And if you take a look, quantity has been ordered for more than 200 times. Jadi kita buatlah sum of the quantity. Be greater than 200. And the price is less than 500. Okay, kita nak quantity ni dekat mana? Quantity dekat table order product. And dia nak price kena less than 5 ringgit. Okay, so kita tahu nak guna apa? Price. Okay, sort the data in descending order. So dia nak ada order by lah. Order by and descending. Okay, so if we take a look over here, kan ada nak guna apa? Quantity, price dengan category. So tengok dekat sini table mana yang involve? Dua table je, which is product dengan order product. So product dengan order product ni dekat sini je lah. Kan dekat this part. Product dengan order product on product ID. Okay. So dia nak display the drinks. Okay. So dia nak display the drinks. Dia tak minta quantity pun, dia nak the drinks je. So apa yang dekat sini? Kau boleh display and select product name and also product price. And product name. Kalau nak tambah sum of the quantity pun tak perlu, tak ada masalah. So, kalau tak ada pun tak ada masalah. Dia tak minta pun kan. Okay. From which table? Kita tahu table apa yang terlibat tadi, table product. Di join dengan tables order product. Okay, OP. So on what? Product and order product tadi they are connected through product ID. Okay. So on what? P.product ID. Product ID equals to OP.product ID. Okay, so now kita ada condition. So what is the condition? The first condition kita tahu pasal product category. Where? Product category. And product category equals to beverage. Okay, and ada apa lagi? And then product price is less than 5 ringgit. Because kita tahu price is number. Walaupun ada RM kat depan, tak ada RM. Because dalam database, kalau masuk product price, kan masuk 5, 4, macam tu je kan. So we should have to understand lah. It should be less than 5. Okay. So now, kita ada satu condition, some quantity. Boleh tak N dekat sini ke? And some quantity. Nama buat macam ni. Less than 200. So this is wrong. Kenapa? When you have a condition and this condition involve group function, kita kena guna having clause. Kita faham this one. Okay. Bila your condition involve group function, kita kena guna having clause. So that's why dekat sini dia kena salah kalau letak N dekat sini. Okay. So now, sebelum kita ada having clause, kita group by dulu. Nak group by apa? Which one is a non-group function? Product name and also product price. Kenapa awak select group function? This group function, non-group function, non-group function. So the non-group function must be inside group by clause. Lepas group by clause baru boleh buat having what? Sum of the quantity be greater than 200. Dan lepas dah settle everything, baru kita boleh buat order by. Order by apa? Sort the data descending order of the price. Price tu dekat mana? Price. Order by price, descending order. All settled. Okay. Boleh faham kita tengah buat apa ni?
Boleh sir.
Boleh sir.
Okay, so that's why you have to remember. Kan kita banyak condition kat sini, tapi ada some condition yang involve group function. If it's not involve group function, kita nampak macam prod category. Tak ada group function, dia tak dekat where clause. This one tak ada group function, tak dekat where clause. But this one ada group function, dia kena tak dekat having clause. Okay, kena faham on that one. Kalau condition tu ada group function, dia tak boleh ada dekat where. Tak ada having clause. Okay, so far so good. Boleh faham this part? So how to do RA for this one? The RA saya letak kat sebelah ni lah, senang. Okay, how to do the RA? So first thing first, dah nampak ada group function. Bila ada group function, straight away kita kena buat capital R. Okay, so on the right hand side is the sum of the quantity. On the left hand side is group by clause. Apa group by clause kita? Prod price, prod name, and also prod price. And do we have a condition? Kan saya letak kat bawah je, patut tambah kat sini tapi kalau tak nampak tambah kat bawah sini. Kita nak sambung dia under on the same line. Okay. So what is the condition? This one kalau condition kita boleh tak 3 condition. Kalau dekat RA condition semua masuk tempat yang sama je. Okay. Prod category equals to average. And prod price less than 5 and sum of the quantity greater than 200. Dan kalau tak nak buat macam ni pun, boleh tambah kat situ terus je, sum quantity greater than 200. So ni tak letak lah. Boleh juga. Because RA is not restricted. Dan RA ni dia very simple. Dan dia bukan something yang rigid sangat lah. Okay. So boleh buat macam ni juga, boleh buat cara macam kat atas yang saya kata. Okay. So all of this coming from which table? All of this coming from table product join with order prod. Okay, on what? On product ID equals to product ID. Then dia nak apa kat sini, tengok order by prod price. So dekat prod price ni, boleh letak T descending. Itu cara nak buat order by. Kan order by tu kita letak dekat order by is represented by T. Kalau ascending letak T je, kalau descending letak T descending. Letak dekat mana, letak dekat column yang kita nak. Kalau dia dekat sini, nak letak kat atas boleh, letak kat tengah-tengah ni pun boleh, ikut awak letak kat mana. Tapi dia bukan nak dekat sum tu kan, dia nak dekat prod price. So tak dekat prod price tu, kan T descending. Kita nak buat order by dekat relational algebra. Okay, so far so good?
Yes sir.
Boleh Okay. So, kita dah settle soalan SQL, saya dah tunjuk sekali RA. Kan? So, I do hope for your SQL test nanti tak ada masalah nak buat RA. Okay. So now, let's take a look on question number 4. Kita cepat sikit dan nak habis masa dah. Okay. Study the transaction schedule below. Now we have R1X, R2X, and W2X and so forth lah. Okay. So now, the first question they ask you to translate the transaction into transaction table. When we talk about transaction table, we have to understand. Kan apa maksud R1X ni? R means read. 1 means transaction. X means data item. And so this is transaction. So apa maksud dia kat sini? Transaction 1, read X. Apa maksud dia? Transaction number 1, read X. Okay. So first thing first, before you want to translate into transaction table, please make sure you know how many transactions do we have. Satu, akan sikit 1, 2, 3. Jadi 3 unit transaction dia. So means dekat sini kita boleh asingkan lah. Kan? P1, P2, and also P3. So we have 3 different transactions. So kita buat one by one. And it has to be line by line for this one. Okay, so it has to be line by line. So the first one kita buat apa? R1X. So means transaction 1 read X. Settle. Second one, transaction 2 read X. W2X transaction 2 write X. Then transaction 2 write Y. Transaction 1 read Y. Transaction 1 write X. Transaction 2 read Y. Transaction 3 write Y. Transaction 3 read X. Transaction 2 write Z. Transaction 1 read Z. Transaction 2 read Z. Settle. Okay. So by right, you have to understand this is how we translate and how we translate the transaction data into the transaction table over there. So far, are you clear on how to translate this one into the table? Boleh?
Boleh, sir.
This one 2 markah rugi tak dapat untuk benda-benda simple macam ni. Kan sebab awak just masuk balik dalam bentuk table, susun balik je dalam bentuk table daripada list jadi table. So it is quite easy. Okay. So now they ask you to draw a precedence graph and draw a precedence graph based on the answer in A. First thing first, kan nak lukis precedence graph ni awak kena tahu precedence graph ada dua benda yang awak kena tahu. The first one, there must be a node. The second one, there must be a directed edge. Okay, node ni means transaction lah. Directed edge ni kita tengok if awak ada write to write, read to write, ataupun write to read on different transaction. Transaction I, transaction J. Okay, on different transaction ada tak orang tu read after the previous transaction read, sorry, write after the different transaction write after the transaction before a previous transaction read, or write before the read before the other transaction write on the same data item. And on the same data item, kena faham. Okay, so benda pertama node, ada berapa transaction? 3. So lukislah 3 node. Kan lukislah 3 node. Kan awak ada T1, T2 and T3. Okay, T1, T2 and T3. Awak lukis 3 node, dapat markah dah. 3 markah dah ni. Dan node tu ada 3 markah dah. Lukis node tu saja, tak buat related edge lagi pun dah ada markah. Terugilah kalau tak lukis ke node. Okay, so then now kita dah tahu ada T1, T2 and T3, kita nak determine. Kan? Nak determine ada directed edge ke tak ada. So now kita buat line by line. Kita buat read X dulu. So read X ni sekarang dekat mana? The first one. Kan read X ni, the first one dekat kita punya list. Kan read X ni. So read X ni, siapa? Awak jangan tengok dekat the same transaction. Dia salah. And when we talk about precedence graph, it must be I to J means different transaction. Kita dekat transaction 1, so now we take a look at transaction 2. Ada orang tak read to read? Boleh tak? Tak ada. Because kita punya rules adalah read to write, get write to read, or write to write. Kan? So the first one read tak boleh. Kan? But this one read to write boleh. So means sekarang apa kat sini? T1 pergi kepada T2 on X. T1 goes to T2 on X. Dah ada satu dah. Okay. Kita tengok lagi. Ada X lagi tak dekat T2? Ada lagi tak? Tak ada dah. Tengok dekat T3. Ada X tak? Ada tapi read. Read to read tak boleh. So we can stop. Habis dah. Settle. Pergi dekat the second one. Second one kita read X. Read X and this one. Tapi dekat mana sekarang? Dekat T2. So dekat T2 kita tengok dekat T1. Ada tak X? Ada. Read to write. Boleh. So means T2 pergi kepada T1 on X. T2 goes to T1 on X. Kat sini pun dah nampak dah cycle kan? Dah tahu dah. Tapi kita kena teruskan lagi lah. Okay, ada X lagi tak ada. Dekat T3 ada X tak? Ada, tapi read to read tak boleh. So settle. Lagi the third one. And the third one, T2 goes to T1 on X. Kenapa T2 goes to T1 on X. Tapi dah ada tak? Dah ada. Nak tulis lagi ke? Tak payahlah. Dah ada kan? So biarkan je lah. Kan ada X lagi tak ada? Dekat sana ada read. Write X, read X. Write to read kan boleh. So means T2 pergi ke T3 on X. 2 goes to T3 on X. Okay. Ada X lagi tak ada dah? Settle. The fourth one, Y. Ada Y tak dekat T1 ada. T2 goes to T1 on Y. T2 goes to T1 on Y. Tadi X, sekarang Y. Tambahlah kat tepi dia. T2 goes to T1 on Y. Okay, ada Y lagi tak dekat bawah dia? Tak ada. Dekat T3 ada Y? Ada. Nampak? Then Y to right Y. Ada juga. So means T2 goes to T3 on Y. Ada juga. Okay, itu goes to 3 on Y ada juga. So boleh tambah lagi kat situ. Okay, so now ada Y lagi tak? Dah tak ada. Settle. Now kita dekat T1. This one read Y. Dekat T2 ada Y tak? Ada. Tapi read to read tak payah. Dekat T3 ada Y tak? Ada. Nampak? Read Y goes to write Y. T1 goes to T3. T1 goes to T3 on Y. Ada lagi Y tak after that? Tak ada dah. So settle this with Y. Ini kepada write X. Apa tak? Right now we are here. Write X. After dia ada X tak dekat T2? Tak ada. And dekat T3 ada tak? Ada. Write X to read X. So means T1 to T3 on X pun boleh juga. And T1 to T3 on X pun boleh juga. Ada juga. Okay, ada lagi tak? X after that tak ada dah, settle. Now goes to this read Y. After dia ni ada read Y tak? Tak ada. Dekat this one ada. T2 to T3 on Y. T2 kepada T3 on Y kan dah ada. Tak ada lagi dah. Dah ada kan? So settle juga. Sekarang kita dekat sini. Write Y. Ada tak orang Y lagi? Tak ada dah. Settle. Sekarang kita kat sini ada X. Ada tak X lagi? Dekat different transaction sini tak ada X dah. Settle. Kan this one. Ada Z tak? Ada dekat sini. Write to read. T2 to T1. T2 to T1 on Z. Ada satu lagi. Okay, ada Z lagi tak? Tak ada dah. So this one settle. This one last. Ada lagi tak Z? Ada tapi read to read tak payah. This one lepas Z ada tak? Tak ada dah. So settle. So this is our precedence graph. Boleh faham tak kita tengah buat apa ni?
Boleh,
Boleh,
sir.
sir.
Kan? So nak lukis precedence graph ni pun nampak awak dapat 7 markah cuma ni sepatutnya. Sebab apa? Tengok dia ada ke tak ada? Ada ke tak ada lepas dia. Kan? So kalau ada dia punya directed edge. Kalau tak ada directed edge dia. So total kita ada berapa directed edge? 1, 2, 3. Ada 8 directed edge. So ada 3. Lepas tu ada 4 mark dekat directed edge. 0.5 for each point. X ni 0.5. This one 0.5. This one ada 0.5. Okay. So ada 8 directed edge, 4 markah. Dan pun note 3 yang dah note yang 4 kita nak markah tu. So total 7 markah. Okay. So far so good over here. Boleh
Boleh sir.
Boleh. Dia suruh draw je. Draw je lah. Tak payahlah buat conclusion apa-apa. Kan? Yang dekat question the next one baru dia cakap. State the serializability of the precedence graph. So now, if we take a look. Precedence graph ni ada cycle ke tak ada cycle? Ada cycle ke tak ada cycle?
Ada cycle.
Ada cycle dekat mana? Nampak? T1 dengan T2 ni dia berpusing kan? T1 dengan T2 ni, nampak? T1 pergi T2, T2 pergi T1. T1 pergi T2, T2 pergi T1. Dia ada cycle. And there is a cycle. Okay, so means sekarang ni your precedence graph, then precedence graph has cycle. Bila ada cycle means what? Conflict ke non-conflict? It is
Non-conflict.
non-conflict. Okay, non-conflict serializable. Okay, so what is the conclusion? Non-conflict serializable. Just tengok dia ada cycle tak cycle. Kalau tak ada cycle means conflict serializable. And what is it by conflict serializable means dia follow serializability punya rules. Kalau ada cycle ni tapi kita tak nak. Ada cycle maksud tak follow serializability. So what does it by serializability? Serializability means interleave but not interfere. Can interleave but not interfere. So what is by interleave but not interfere? Multiple transaction boleh run dekat dalam at the same time, however they will not be interfering with each other. Okay, kalau maksudnya non-conflict serializable maksudnya interleave and interfere. Kan awak buat sama-sama tapi sama-sama akan ambil benda yang salah. So itu maksud non-conflict serializable. Kalau conflict serializable maksud dia follow serializability. Non-conflict serializable tak follow serializability. Okay, so we want the precedent graph that has no cycle. But if you take a look, it has a cycle over here. Means katakanlah this is scheduling, maksudnya ada masalah. Kan scheduling ada masalah. Kenapa? Because of kita ada cycle in the precedence graph. Okay. So far so good. Boleh faham?
Boleh, sir.
Boleh sir.
Boleh sir.
Make sure faham lah. So nanti anak awak ni jumpa gambar awak macam ni. Guna filter TikTok. Guna filter Snapchat dengan Snapchat. Okay. So, do you have any question for now? Kita dah habis discuss lah. Habis discuss dah for all of the tests. If you're coming from my class and I mark wrongly on your answer, you can let me know. And if you are from Madam Zuhri class, then of course you also have to let her know lah. You have to let her know if there's some wrong marks being given to your test. Okay. So I guess, do you have any question?
No,
Do you have any question? No question, eh? So if there's no question, let's end our discussion here. And I'll see you again. I mean, for my class, for my student, I'll see you again after your special break. Okay? So you can be
Sir.
dismissed. Ya.
Ni
Apa dia?
rekod ni adakah sir akan share ke ataupun macam mana?
Nak saya share ke?
Boleh?
Nak saya share nanti saya
Nak.
share lah. Okay, nanti saya share
Okay,
dekat.
thank you sir. Handsome
Okay.
sir.
Tahu. Okay. Okay, so if there's no other question, let's end our class here. See you again after the midterm break. So you can be dismissed. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you sir.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you sir.
Thank you
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Sir, kalau yang untuk Madam Zuhri punya kelas, macam mana untuk dapatkan link yang record ni?
Nanti saya bagi dekat Madam Zuhri.
Okay, thank you sir. Assalamualaikum.
Okay.